I am Rashawn McDonald, the host of Money Making Conversation Masterclass, where we encourage people to stop reading other people's success stories and start planning their own. Join us as we travel across the country, visiting small businesses and interviewing celebrities to see how they're running their companies and nonprofits who are making a difference in their local communities. Now sit back and watch as we unlock the secrets to their success. Hi, I'm Rashawn McDonald. I host this weekly Money Making Conversation Masterclass show. The interviews and information that this show provides are for everyone. It's time to start reading other people's success stories and start living your own. My guest has been recognized as America's Songbird. She was commissioned by the U.S. State Department to represent America or American music abroad at U.S. embassies around the world. She's also here to highlight performing artists in the disability spectrum by showcasing their talents. Please welcome to Money Making Conversation Masterclass, Myrna, Clayton. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
First of all, I had you on my radio show.
Yes.
And I was so impressed, and I felt like I ran out of time. My radio show, this podcast really is Money Making Conversation Masterclass, and the interview is airing right now, by the way.
Okay.
Being well received.
All right.
But your story, it's just amazing. So we're going to
you.
go back, Alabama girl.
Look, born in Alabama, raised in Atlanta. Yes. I'm a Southern girl.
Southern girl, no problem. I'm born and raised in Houston, Texas, so South meets South.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
So the singing part, how did you get engaged in singing? When you realized you had the talent of a singer?
Well, I started singing at age 5 at my father's church, and it's crazy because I was.
Was that just cute singing, age 5?
At 5, yes, absolutely. And then I was allowed to join the youth chorus.
Okay.
And then I was offered the opportunity to sing a solo. My brother and I were in the youth chorus, and he was always soloing. And so they let me sing a solo, and I was hooked at that point. It was just such a fun thing. But I began always singing at church. I went to Northside High School, so I was always in the band. And I love being in the band, marching band, concert band. As a matter of fact, I was on a music scholarship going to college, but I always sang at church.
Right.
I never sang in theater. I never sang in the choruses at schools. Right. And even in college, I was in the marching band, was not in the chorus, but I sang in the gospel chorus there. And so I was always singing. And music was always something I enjoyed and loved to do. But after getting my MBA and going into corporate, I was still singing. But I was like, you know what? I really want to sing.
Right.
And so eventually left corporate, would do it a different way.
Let's talk about that right there, because like I used to work at IBM. I was in corporate, and I left IBM to pursue a stand-up comedy career.
Okay.
And when I told people that, they all looked at me, like, Rashawn, you leaving IBM to go tell some jokes. Get real. So I don't want to just gloss over that moment because it was a very, very difficult decision for me to make emotionally. Let's talk about that decision-making process.
I was in marketing research. I worked for SC Johnson in Racine, Wisconsin, and then moved back home to Atlanta and worked for Bell South, which is now back AT&T. Okay. And so in that process was working in new product, new business development, doing marketing research, taking a product from concept idea to national launch, test marketing, all of that. And so I've got that experience, got that training. And I was like, this is all nice, but I'm just not fulfilled.
So many people are at that point right there.
Yeah.
There's so many people right now are at jobs or working for people and not happy. And not happy, not admitting they're not happy. And I'm not saying that you are unhappy or I were unhappy. I just wasn't satisfied.
Yeah.
And that's the
there was
key
more.
word.
It was more for me to do.
Right. And also I believe a lot of times when people get trapped like that, they're living the expectation of what people feel you should be doing.
And they think of it as a hobby.
Yes.
This is what I do on the side.
Right.
This is not what I do as a career. And so that's a whole different mindset for people because then they want you to come and do it as a favor for free or things like that. And
Come on, girl, sing a song. Birthday song.
Exactly. All of that. And so it's like, oh, wait, no. This is my job. This is my career. This is what my income. And people always think of starving artists.
Right.
I don't want to be I'm not a starving artist, and I don't intend to be a starving artist. But that's a whole different mindset because also musicians and singers are not taught about the business of music and the business of entertainment. And this is how I suggest to other people now when they're talking to me. And what that is let your part-time job be your career. And so don't go get a part-time job because you need extra money. Go get a part-time job being your career, doing your thing. And while you're still working in corporate, and then when your part-time job starts making more money than your full-time job, then that's when to leave.
When did your group, the people around you, your base started realizing this is a career that can benefit you, and they started accepting you for your talents?
It took a minute.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
It took a minute for them to accept. As a matter of fact, plenty of my friends and ex-husbands said, "Go get a real job. Go get a job.
Right.
You know, what are you doing? You know,
Right.
you got a daughter at home. You know, and all this kind of thing." And so it's very, very challenging because people aren't accepting of you pursuing your talent, you pursuing your gift.
Right.
You're pursuing what I was very much so, as far as I was concerned, answering a call what God had given me to do.
Absolutely.
And so because I'm doing that, people will, there are lots of, what do you sing about other people who are not doing, they're singing, they're doing this. And I'm like, no, this is for me. I can't speak about what anybody else is doing or not doing. This is for me.
Right. Now, when I talk about the concept of what you're doing as a talent, you know, because you are an entrepreneur.
Yes,
a lot of people don't see that a singer as a small business.
Absolutely.
Because you're making all the decisions, setting the budget, and also realization of how you're going to generate income. It comes in different ways.
Yeah.
Let's talk to this magical moment of you becoming the ambassador. You know,
Okay.
you know, I mean, a singing ambassador, basically around the world.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
First of all, can I first say that I've been performing abroad before becoming a U.S. cultural ambassador. My calling, if you will, was to be a worldwide ministry in music, and so I knew that I needed to sing abroad. And so my first trip abroad was to Nigeria, and then I performed as a part of a gospel group singing in France, a tour doing France and Germany, and then the opportunity came for me to perform in Russia. So I performed in Russia 4 times with Russian musicians. I went by myself to perform it, and I performed all over the country of Russia, from the Black Sea to the Sea of Japan, and in Siberia with Russian musicians. And so then after that came the opportunity to, I just kept saying.
So you built your resume.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
That's key.
Exactly. And pursuing things, because here's the thing, Mr. McDonald, I wasn't 21, 25 getting started in a music career. And so I knew that I had to do something different, because in the clubs and in the venues that I knew about, they weren't picking people like me to sing with their band. And so again, I had, exactly. And so I had to, so, I know, I'm right. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. And so I had to go where I was appreciated, not tolerated. And so I had to change and look at things. And so I had to really do some strategic planning, some really thoughts about my product, my audience, my target audience, and things like that. And so it's like, okay, where can I go where that opportunity exists? And so then came, I then happened to go to DC on my way to New York, because I'm like, well, where can I go where I can be around performers that appreciate what I do? And while in DC visiting my play sister, I was there and wanted to get known. And how does an artist get known? You go perform at jam sessions. You go where people can hear you sing, because I wanted to be booked to perform. And while there, I was asking everybody, do you know who books international? Do you know who books international? Because in Atlanta, I asked the main people that were doing the thing, and nobody knew. And so at that point, I said, well, if you don't know, then nobody here knows. And so I went to, like I said, going to New York to find who books. While in DC, someone said to me, the State Department, like, you idiot, don't you know? And I was like, the State Department? And that's all they said. The State Department. Well, I know how to do research. And so at that point, I'm looking around, and I found this program called American Music Abroad.
Wow.
And so the process is, with anything with the government, you have to submit an application. And I had submitted an application twice before, and I got turned down. And there are components of that. You have to send a video. You have to, do all kinds of things. Well, the third time I submitted, each time I'm getting better and better with my
Rejection
application.
does make you better.
Absolutely. With my application. And then from that, they offered us the opportunity to audition. And I had to pull my band together. And then they flew us to New York, from Atlanta to New York. And we were there. We had to do in the audition, they gave us 20 minutes to audition. And what we did was we had to perform 3 songs, 2 American and 1 international, where I sang in another language. And then also we had to show what kind of master classes we would offer. to the persons internationally, and then how would we perform off grid? Because we may be in places that don't have electricity. And so how would we perform, especially with electrical instruments? I mean, we actually, while in Latvia, which is in the Baltics, there was a home that we went to that we went performing in an orphanage. And there was no, they didn't have, well, they had electricity, but they didn't have, sound system.
Right.
And no drumming.
Right.
And so I can tell you so many stories, Mr. McDonald, about all of that. But
they knew that was going to happen.
yes, and so that's why they asked that question. And so once we did that, after the 20 minutes, we were back on a plane back to Atlanta. And then a few months, well, maybe a couple of months later, they reached out to us and told us that we were one of 40. No, excuse me. They auditioned 40.
Right.
Out of 400 bands that it's applied, they auditioned 40, meaning they flew some to New York, some to LA, and then out of that 400, we were selected one of 10 that would be representing American music.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was
You
great.
finally had a job. Let's go and be real.
Right.
You had a job now.
I finally got, absolutely recognized
as a job.
As a job.
You tell people you're
It was
going
a
on
paying
tour.
job. Yes, it's on tour.
The government name is tied to it. People go, hallelujah. my prayer that my baby working.
Exactly. My business.
My grandchild won't start there.
Exactly. I had my business name. It wasn't Myrna Clayton. It was Cedar Tree Worldwide. And so I gave my business name, had business license, and all of that legitimacy came into place.
It became legitimate. One of the things, Myrna, I invited you to come on my show was your advocacy and disability. I was so moved by it because the passion that was tied to your conversation with me, and talk about how that become a lead part of your DNA.
Wow. Well, I've always been a supporter of underdogs, persons who were just, I felt were mistreated or marginalized. And it just so happened, Mr. McDonald, that I saw a young boy, about 10 years old, struggle to get up 3 steps into a church pulpit. I was there to sing, and I saw him struggling. I guess he had cerebral palsy because he had the arm canes. I don't know. I wasn't present in mind at the time. But Mr. McDonald, when he got on that stage and started singing, you forgot all about his challenge. He was about 10 or 11 years old, don't know. And I didn't have the presence of mind at the time to get his name. I was just, mesmerized by him. And then about 5 years later, very, very quickly, 5 years later, I thought about him. God would have him cross my mind, and I was like, I wonder where he's singing. I bet he's a teenager, and I bet he's killing it. And I began asking musician friends of mine, choir directors, people that are in all aspects of the industry that I knew at that point, do you know any singers with disabilities? 'Cause I'm looking for him, but I'm just, do you know any singers with disabilities? And not one person knew anybody.
Wow.
No one knows anybody with a disability who sings.
Right.
And at that point, I was like, wow, there's a huge gap here, opportunity gap that needs to be met. It's an opportunity. And so that's what made me go in that space. And then after getting in that space, I realized the statistics.
Right.
26% of the U.S. population have a disability. 1 in 4 people have a disability. 64 million people in the U.S. have a disability. That doesn't come to mind for the general population.
Right.
Why? Because from childhood, we've been taught not to point and not to stare.
Right.
And so they don't
And to feel sorry.
And absolutely to feel sorry. And fear. Fear that it might happen to us because we may acquire a disability. All kinds of things that stop us from even seeing this population. And so to me, they're hidden in plain view. And so it's a real challenge to just, for people to acknowledge persons with disabilities. And so I began asking people, so just tell me, do you know any singers with disability? Do you know that Stevie Wonder's name doesn't come up?
I know.
They
don't see him as disabled.
No,
Ray Charles,
exactly.
Jose Feliciano.
Exactly. Itzhak Perlman. They don't see them as as disabled. And the record labels did an amazing job. You never saw Stevie Wonder back in the day. You never saw him come on stage. He was at the piano with glasses on. One of my favorite lines in the Ray Charles movie that Jamie Foxx did was the man threw the glasses at him and said, "Put these glasses on. I can't stand to look at your eyes." Like, why does a blind person need glasses?
Right.
For us, not for them. And so this particular community, that isn't, they not the us and them, or they are human beings just like us.
Absolutely.
We are brothers and sisters. You cut them, they bleed red just like us, and so they have talent. What corporation? Let me calm down. What corporation? What corporation?
That's why I brought you in here. I didn't get enough on the radio. I said, let everybody see her visually.
Oh my gosh! What corporation focuses on their weaknesses?
Right.
Or their inabilities. You focus on your strengths.
Right.
So why must we look at this population at what they can't do? at their challenges.
Right.
How about looking at the amazing things that they can do?
Right.
And that's where showability is about. We're showcasing your abilities. We want to promote what you can do. And here's the thing. We're wanting to create visibility because at the end of the day, we want to show people that you don't need to be afraid. You don't have to be fearful. These are dynamic people. And if we just see them, I mean, just think about it. If 26, just do the math. If 26% of the U.S. population have a disability, if you add one family member to that, that's 52% of the U.S. population are connected in some way. Over half the U.S. population got somebody in their family that has a disability. You know, and so it's like, hello? Why are we pretending that they don't exist?
You know what really moved me in my interview with you on my radio show, on my Slice podcast, was when you was talking about how access. They say it's access, but it's not real access. Talk about that.
Well, first of all, most stages are not accessible. If they're accessible, it's for equipment, not for the human being. How do we know that? Because we can't get to the green room from the stage. We can't get to the tech area from the stage. And so for persons who are disabled, you're not accommodating them.
Now, are you disabled?
I am not.
Okay,
I am
but
not.
you say we.
I feel like it's part of me now. It's my family.
Because somebody goes, is she disabled?
It's just part of my family
But
now.
I know that's the passion of it. It should be we. I always tell people when you're talking about building a company, building a brand, you build that we culture.
And let me tell you the other part of the we. I'm going with them, and I'm ticked off because we can't get to. I mean, they're with me.
Right.
So we can't go to the green room. We can't go to the tech area because my crew, my team, my performers are with me, and so I'm limited because they're limited. And so yes, I didn't notice I was doing a we, but it is a we. Yes, absolutely. And so the accessibility is a huge issue. You know, the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law in 1990 by President George Bush, and so. We just celebrated it July 26th, just last month, and it's 34 years. To me, the ADA really is more of code compliance for getting in the building and going to the bathroom. In essence, that's to me. And I realize that's me minimizing the ADA, and it's such a phenomenal development that exists. Things like the curb cuts in the sidewalks, that wouldn't exist without the disability, community arguing for the ADA. Certain things that something that benefits the disability community will benefit us all.
Right. So I'm talking to you now. Okay, Miss Advocate, Miss Passion, Miss I got to do something. You know, you might be short, but you 7 feet tall sitting on the sofa now.
I am, with my feet dangling.
So what do you want to do?
Well, you know what? The first thing that a person can do is the golden rule. That is, treat others as you want to be treated.
Right.
Respect their space. Some of the things that people do is just amazing to me, but I don't want to put any energy into that. But it's really respect people and how you want to be treated. Would you, if you were having difficulty, you'd want someone to ask, "May I help you?" Not just kind of come and help you, because they don't know what's going on. And so don't just give me my space. Ask me how I can assist you. Right. And depending upon the different, because the disability community crosses every socioeconomic level. It's actually not socioeconomic, every demographic level. It's gender, race, ethnicity, nationality, as well as socioeconomic. Because it crosses, then depending upon how a person is culturalized, you also respect. You respect that also, because there's so many different kinds of disability inclusion areas, whether that be wheelchair, blind, deaf, intellectual disabilities. Again, it varies depending upon who the person is and how the person is. And so the first thing is to just respect and ask. Ask and not be afraid to make a mistake, because we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to make a mistake and ask the wrong question. No, excuse me, may I ask a question? Are you okay? And one other thing, let me quickly say this, because I get this all the time. When people have service dogs, don't go and pet that service dog. That service dog is at work. He is working. He is not a pet. He is working. And so people, oh, can I pet? No. And then you mad because the person says no, as opposed to, no. Even Mr. McDonald, people go and try to pray your healing away. They come to you, can I pray for you to be healed? the things that people with disability have to go through with us general population. General population. It's amazing.
Well, it's tied to just, I have to use the word ignorance.
Lack of
and
knowledge.
Not saying that there's a lack of words that I could have put in the place of ignorance, but that's what it's really tied to.
It's
because
lack
of
of
the fact
knowledge.
that petting a dog who's there for service, feeling you can heal and somebody's going to become, regain their sight or regain their ability to walk the way you think is correct way to walk.
Right.
This person may be comfortable with their life, be comfortable with their body, just like I'm comfortable with being black.
I was about. That was exactly. Can you change your Can I pray your brownness off of you?
Right.
No.
You probably be a lot happy if you're white now. We're gonna sit over here and just pray you white. Okay. That's what they're basically saying.
Exactly.
They're making a statement that you can live a better life if you walked a different way, spoke a different way, looked a different way, skin tone wise. Now, do you have any foundations or you have any upcoming events?
Thank you for asking. Yes, as a matter of fact, we do. First of all, we just had an amazing July 26th ADA 34th anniversary of the ADA being signed, where we had collaborations with folks. And we've got coming up, and I'm excited to say, we have a major event partnering with Georgia State University called
in Atlanta, Georgia.
In Atlanta, Georgia, sorry, called Accessibility Below the Line.
Okay.
And that's dealing with the film industry. And so
Wow.
below the line is all the people who are involved in the movie below the line. And so we're helping people in both sides, those who have disabilities who want to work in film or who are working in film, and then those that hire them. Because oftentimes persons who are below the line, who are hiring, don't have a clue about ADA,
Right.
don't have a clue about accessibility,
Right.
don't have a clue about accommodations. And so three things happen, which is natural to human beings. They're either fearful, and so they go the other way, either the flight or freeze. They don't know what to say. And a lot of times people get mean when they get in those situations, so they're not nice.
Right.
And they've not accommodated. How can you have a set and you don't have a ramp for a wheelchair user, though you hired a wheelchair user?
Right,
So it's those
right.
kinds of, it doesn't come to mind. And so this expo we're excited about is going to be October 20th at Georgia State in the Student Center.
Make sure we get this aired before October 20th,
Yes,
team. Okay.
Thank you. But we have that, and so we're really excited about that. We also have a group called the Inclusive Chorus, made up of talented singers with and without disabilities.
Okay.
And so they're performing around, as a matter of fact, going to sporting events because we're trying to create awareness
Right.
of the abilities of persons with disabilities. And so at sporting events, and so we're scheduled to perform at, we've already performed at the Gladiators. We're hoping to perform at the Falcons and the Hawks. We're performing at Georgia State and University of Georgia basketball games. And so we're out in the community showcasing the talents of persons with disabilities.
Well, awesome. I want to tell you, Myrna, this is not the same interview I did on my podcast.
No, it's not.
We want to get some B-roll of this. We want to get pictures of you traveling, we want pictures of you performing with people with disability. More importantly, just get the word out.
Thank you.
I've been thoroughly educated and motivated to create change. And
Thank
that's
you.
what this is about Money Making Conversation Masterclass. We talked about the population size being the largest minority at 26%, $21 billion of discretionary
That's not
income.
a niche audience.
Yeah, right. No, it's not.
Not a niche audience.
And we should start not only promoting the value they bring as far as taxpayers and people who make purchases out in the general public, drive cars, build houses.
Voters, they vote.
All those things.
Yes.
And enough is never enough.
No.
And so we can do more. And I want to thank you for coming on Money Making Conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. And this has been another episode of Money Making Conversation Masterclass. This time, Myrna Clayton and brought her singing. Well, I didn't ask her to sing because guess what? She's been doing SEC 5. But more importantly, her advocacy is what I wanted to really showcase on this show. Thank you.